gonna start recording here. Hopefully we're on. Hi Matt, how are you?
Hey, doing all right. How you doing, Lon?
Not bad, not bad. It's weird. Like we've known each other longer than I would ever have expected.
Yeah, I know, man. Before college, through college, all that
Yeah,
stuff, just keeping up with each other on social media. So,
yeah. We ran it. Yeah, we went to high school together, and then
yeah,
randomly you were a friend's roommate. I like dropped by her place, and there you were. I was like, oh shit, worked out.
yeah, not realizing that you two know each other. Small world, right?
Yeah, it's been okay. So we're live on YouTube, and I'm looking at the chat because people have been chiming in like with technical issues.
Oh,
It's
man.
been great. It's like having like a broadcast team.
What
So I wanted to
are
talk
they
to you
noticing?
today because I remember Alex is like, come down to a show with me. My buddy Matt's wrestling. I was like, oh cool, okay, I remember Matt. So I went
Yeah.
down there. We were hanging out. It was MPX at a gymnasium, like where they work out
Yeah,
and stuff.
it was probably out at Metroflex Gym
Yeah,
in Bedford. It was this industrial park area, and it was a gym that was in one of the office suites with no air conditioning. And
yeah. Summer
like
was
I'm
rough.
sure either Steven or Nigel or whoever, I'm sure they probably told you all that stuff too, just about how it was unbearably hot, no air conditioning, no air
Yeah,
flowing. 100 fans like every time we would put on a show, and then yeah, it could be
people
pretty rough, but
people showed up, and then
people showed up.
yeah,
Absolutely.
because I remember you were at ringside, and then you came in and you like made a comeback. I was like, oh shit, that was amazing.
Oh, that was that show.
Uh huh.
So I've been hit a few times, but like I forget what show that I saw you at. But yeah, I was at that show. There was an angle where I had retired, and then I had to get brought up as a special introduction, and that's when I made my dastardly comeback.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. And so you were always a heel, right?
Yeah, there was a very brief time towards the end of my run where I turned into a face. Just so funny how that happened. I don't know if you want to get
Yeah,
into it
totally.
now or if you want to get into it
Yeah,
later.
no, get into it.
But so towards the end of my run as a heel, I was part of this dark faction with like Karrion
Hmm.
Arcane and back then Gregory James, but he's now Isaiah James. We were called the Following with the Monster Regrub. But then something happened with our faction leader Arcane, and he began to take all of us out one by one. And we did a deal where my hand was broken because I was the left hand of God. So he broke my hand. I did a whole bunch of social media posts saying like, oh, I blacked out. What happened? Things are weird. I'm really paranoid that somebody's following me, and that started the whole thing. It had happened at a training session a few weeks before all that went down, where I just kind of made up the joke like, "Hey, what if I was a secret Asian man?" Kind of riff on secret agent man. Um,
Okay.
and then they liked that a lot, and so we did a few live vignettes where I was in the crowd with a newspaper in front of my face with like two incredibly obvious eye holes cut out, so that like I was not being very good at
Oh,
being
it's funny.
incognito and stuff. I would sneak around different matches, walk around, and try to keep an eye on things. Um, and then as I got closer to debuting, we got this idea that we had just gotten a smoke machine for the entranceway, and
Okay.
so we got this idea that I would I would have an exploding shoe, and so I would throw my shoe in the back, thinking that some danger was back there. And we let the smoke machine out.
Oh,
One of our referees, Anthony Martocchio, came out and pretended to get hit by the bomb.
that's funny. That explains a lot. Like, cause
Does it?
yeah, like it explained because your character shifted. I was like, okay, this
Yeah,
happened. Then you had this hand thing. It's like I came back sporadically to MPX, and I saw your stuff on Facebook and things like that. And so I was like,
yeah,
okay, okay. And then I guess I got a hint of this last run, and now that explains it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole shift to Secret Asian Man was really weird because I went from being kind of a super serious, dark, heavy, deep,
Yeah.
murdery, dark character kind of guy to having to end up being this guy that takes himself way too seriously as a spy that's not very good. Um, so it was a little bit of a shift in dynamic and stuff. Like somebody that would talk a big game, but then like he was so bad at doing the
Oh
whole
yeah.
spy thing and secret agent thing.
That's funny.
Um, yeah.
That's brilliant. That's a fun little journey. So let's go back to the very beginning then.
Yeah.
Your character is Matt Andrews, right?
Yeah, Matt Andrews. He started off, the very, very beginning. So Steven always likes when I tell this story too, because I answered a Craigslist ad originally.
Okay.
Is how it was. It was a Craigslist ad to be a ring announcer for this wrestling promotion. At the time, I was thinking about the whole voice acting career, which never really took off, but I was like, okay, this is cool. Wrestling, I like wrestling. Been a wrestling fan for going on 24 years now, but like I was like, cool, I'll answer this. So it's all the way out in Bedford. I was like, man, that's a trek, but okay, I'll make it. Got there, and I shook his hand, and I was like, hey, I'm Matthew Fisher. He just looks over me and was like, okay, you are? Because there was definitely a preconceived notion that I was not Matthew Fisher. And so, anyway, I got in there. I got to know the wrestlers and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, hey, can I maybe get in there and do something? And they let me, and it turns out I was kind of natural at it. So it turned out pretty well. And we were tossing around names and stuff. And I had always been in an eFed, one of those electronic federations where you type out promos, you type out results and stuff, and it's basically like reading role playing. And one of my character names on there had been Matt Andrews, just because I thought it flowed pretty well. So I ended up using that. And the whole idea of the choice, I think it was originally interpreted to be like kind of a political thing, but that would not have ended well for me. I don't do politics. It would not have ended well for me at all. Like, I don't do politics. I don't do the whole debate thing.
Yeah, it would not have worked out very well.
No, it really wouldn't have. So it just ended up being, the choice that you come to be entertained. That's what it was. So it was this guy that's like so full and so cocky of himself that he knew that he was the guy that you guys chose to come out and see.
I remember this. That was fun. So is that...
Yeah.
Has that... So that carried you for the first part of your career, like being this...
Yeah, for a good part of it, man. I was pretty... I thought I could... I thought I was pretty good on the mic, pretty good talker, probably from being in theater for as long as I had been. Which is weird because I'm naturally an introvert and I don't really like talking to people.
It gets weird.
But... sometimes you just get into that zone and you get these ideas. Part of the training that we would do kind of stems off of improv too. They you get handed out a word and then you just riff on that.
Okay. Oh, cool.
So like your word would be money, and then you have to fit in money into this promo or make this entire promo and segment all about money and how you're the money or how you're doing this for money, whatever you want to do, however you want to follow it.
Interesting.
But it's kind of a technique that they do in improv classes and stuff too.
No, that makes total sense. Like, because sometimes you gotta shift or something. You see something in the crowd or someone throws something at you. You can play it back into the audience, get back on track, and then do what you need to do. That's neat.
Yeah. Listening to the audience during promos is like super important, and it's really interesting because kind of like if you've ever done improv shows, if anybody out there has ever done improv shows and stuff, you have to listen to what the crowd responds to. Like if there's a joke that you think is funny and nobody's laughing at it, you better move on to the next beat pretty quickly, because otherwise there's just a lot of dead air there. If you're hitting something and people are responding really well, you don't want to move on too quickly to that next beat because you got to let people, die down on the laughter, otherwise they won't hear it.
So as Matt Andrews, how did you wrestle? Like, was there like a particular style that you kind of lend to the character? Do you what movements did you develop to like really sell that motif?
So one of the things about the Matt Andrews character, and really just me as a person, at the time that I started wrestling, I was maybe 140 pounds, soaking wet, like super light. And this was before this was after the WCW Cruiserweight days where there were a whole lot of light guys, but also before the current 205 days where they're still light guys. It's more... I started off in the era where like everybody was like huge, super ripped, super muscular. I was none of those things. I'm still not any of those things. And it was expected that somebody of my stature would be kind of high flying around, doing a lot of flippy stuff. I didn't really want to do that either.
Yeah.
Like
that's like a passion you have to really want to do.
Yeah, it takes a certain lack of sensibility, which I unfortunately I had sensibility and wanted to stay healthy. Didn't really want to have to go to a ER and have to tell somebody, hey, I just jumped 10 feet through the air and I landed wrong.
I landed wrong off a balcony.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. And we had people that jumped off of the office rooftop that was inside of the Metroflex gym. And that was just one of those things where it's like, no, I can't do that. So I had to alter my style. I mean, the next best thing that I could do, obviously, wasn't going to be a powerhouse. I wasn't going to be like running around there like all muscle bound and beating the crap out of anybody. So you have to come up with, I mean, I would have called it a technical style where you just like start attacking limbs, get people down to your size, and work on a body part a lot to try to even the playing field, so to speak.
So what was your finisher?
My finisher, I called it the weapon of choice.
Okay.
After the Christopher Walken song, I really like that. Not Christopher Walken song, but like the one where he's in the music video. Yeah, Fatboy Slim. But it was a hanging neck breaker. But instead of falling backwards like I normally would, I would go ahead and fall forward with it. It was just my big thing, and I've actually carried this through when I cook, when I do bartending and stuff. Like I love classic moves. I love all the stuff that got people to where they are now, but you put your own twist on it and make it your own.
Okay, yeah.
And at that time, nobody had done anything like that, so that was
that's cool. That's neat. So I guess because it's all technical, you like worked your opponent down to make that effective.
Try to as best as I could. and the other part of it though is making it believable. I remember one of my title defenses after I became MPX champion was against Scott Murdoch, and he's like 3 times my size. Could easily pick me up without any issues whatsoever. And it obviously looked like he would be the one to kill me. Like he'd be the one that would just absolutely just murder me. He'd walk away with the championship easy. But you attack legs and you get them down to one knee and you try to get them down as much as possible. And of course, when you're a bad guy, it kind of helps that you can use any sort of means necessary to win.
Yeah.
So either cheating or you just happen to have somebody come out and run interference or whatever, or distract the guy.
My favorite is I have till 5.
Yeah, using the 5 count, right? Bending the rules. All right, you've got a 5 count to use it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sure, I have until 5, ref. Leave me alone. I know the rules. Use it as much as you can. And I always like using the ref in the ring as well, because they end up being part of the match too, right? I mean, they're kind of they're supposed to be unseen, right? Yeah. You're not supposed to know that they're there until the 3 count is there or whatever. But if you can bring them into the performance and use that to augment how you are as a face or as a heel, good guy or bad guy. For me, if I could antagonize the ref as much as possible and let him know that, okay, I heard your rules, but I'm just bending them slightly. Like, that's kind of just a prick move, right? Somebody's like, God, I can't believe that guy. I mean, the ref is telling him what to do, and he should be following the rules. But I am, but just a little outside the scope. Like, I'm still within the realm of the rules, so you can't disqualify me. But I'm just doing enough to get an advantage.
That's awesome. So, what are the things you do? Let's kind of talk curtain to curtain. So, walking through the curtain, let's talk about what things you did to enhance your character, like to the ring, in the ring, out of the ring, before and after.
Yeah. A lot of the preparation for your match comes before you actually hit the curtain. You got to get it, even if you're the opening match, you've got to get a read on the crowd. You got to read on how many people are in there. You do that whole theater thing where you kind of peek through the curtain a little bit and see who's in there.
Feel the vibe of
the room. See if you've got people. You've got to feel the vibe. You've got to, and people in theater say it all the time. You've got to read the room. right? You got to know who your audience is. If you're going to be playing to, the crowd of 25 that's in a hot, sweaty, nasty gymnasium, and they're not making a whole lot of noise at the beginning of the show because, look, they don't want to be there because it's hot as hell, but they were looking to get out of the house. You've got to go ahead and amp up your characters so that you get them involved in the show. If you are starting and they're hot, like they're chanting MPX, MPX, and they're all ready to go, and the ring announcer has hyped them up and all that stuff, your job's relatively easy. I mean, you could just go out there and like sneer at a kid, and the entire crowd would be completely all over you. A very easy night if the crowd's super hot. Yeah. But those are also some of the most fun crowds because they're the ones that respond to everything. So you get in the ring and you go through your taunts, you go through stuff with your opponent, you do things, but then you just got to listen to how they're responding. If you're hitting a spot and nobody believes that you should have hit that and the reaction is kind of dead silent, okay, we got to move on to something else. Which,
like,
that was always...
Yeah, what happened? Like, can you give an example when that happened? Like, you did something, you didn't get the reaction what you wanted, and you had to... How did you shift to something else?
So, all right, one of the things that... this actually wasn't necessarily in a match, but it definitely was not part of the plan. I was scheduled to open the show with a promo by talking, and there was some guy that had been booked originally for the night, but he hadn't reported. He hadn't shown up or anything like that. And so we were like, okay, well, I guess that guy's not here. Well, in the middle of my promo, like 2 minutes in, the guy in question came from the back, not the back where the boys were. He came from the back entrance of the gym, hopped the rail, got in the ring. I didn't know who this guy was. I'm super new to the whole world of Texas indie wrestling and stuff. Okay. I don't know who this is. And everybody knows who this guy is, guys. And I'm going, okay, I don't know how to react here because this guy wasn't part of the promo. He wasn't part of where I was supposed to be, not part of what I'm talking about. I froze. And then I just tried to banter with him on the mic as much as possible until they sent security out to actually escort him out. But it wasn't part of the show at all.
That sucks.
And then, it was scary too. Because a guy, and everybody was at that time, but the guy was like 2 times my size. I was like,
that must be weird. Like you're
probably gonna
in there.
The shit out of me.
Someone shows up. It's obvious the crowd knows who he is, right? And you don't know who he is. Like, all right, something's abnormal here. Like, if it was like a fan, the crowd would react differently.
Yeah, but this guy, I mean, you would definitely be able to tell this guy wasn't a fan. Like, he came in dressed. He came in dressed and stuff, like in ring gear and stuff. And you're like, oh crap. What do I do? You start to think really quick about it. And there was an added sense. This wasn't just like the crowd reacting negatively or not reacting at all. This was more, holy crap, my life's actually in danger, maybe, because I don't know who this guy is, what this guy's gonna do to me. I don't know what's supposed to happen. Yeah. So that was a really weird moment. But yeah, I froze. I bantered with him very slightly, and once security escorted him out, I started ripping on security. They're a little bit late, I guess, getting the guy that they weren't supposed to let into the building out of the ring. So there was that part too. And something that happens in the ring though. One of the easy ones that's for any performer, anybody that goes in the ring, whenever the crowd starts chanting one more time, if it's something super easy, like if somebody hits a huge chop on you, bam, just like that, and then you feel like you should be going on to the next spot or whatever, but the crowd's like, oh, one more time, because they want to see the guy get hit again. Okay, that's cool. I can spare a few minutes and go ahead and hit this guy one more time, give the crowd what he wants. Or if you're the bad guy, you say, okay, I got him. Now you guys don't deserve to see me hit him one more time, and that gets them turned on to you pretty quick.
That's true. Yeah, because they want to see that. That's hilarious.
They want to see it. It's the tease, the denial. Yeah. Nobody likes that.
That's true. So let's talk the shift from kind because you went to the hand thing. How you went more darker? Where was that shift? What was that shift from? And how did you get there?
So when I was the choice Matt Andrews, I teamed up with one of our other managers at the time was Kyle Vallow, and I fell under his tutelage. We formed a stable called Team Kyle, and we were just a bunch of like cocky, jerky kind of guys. It was me and Regrub and Kyle, and we were just bullies. That's the kind of the classic heel thing, right?
Yeah.
The classic bad guy thing is just to be a bully, and that's what we were. And then Gregory James came in there at some point, and he had turned into Unholy.
Yeah.
Gregory James. I don't know if he was Unholy at that point yet, but he wasn't the headbanger. So he was a bad guy too. He came in, he kind of started taking over and being the leader of the group.
Okay.
And then we ended up, and I'm probably butchering the timeline in this, but then eventually we got to be under Carrion Arcane.
Okay.
And Carrion was like really, really dark,
Mhm.
evil, almost Undertaker-like gimmick kind of guy.
Yeah.
So he was a really dark force. And,
Okay.
that my persona just started shifting because I felt that, being the brash, cocky, arrogant kid wasn't something that was going to fit into this dark, evil ministry type stable. So I started thinking about if, all of his cockiness and all of his arrogance would get him to be slowly crazier. Like he started getting more into beating up his opponents. He started getting into causing more torture. Like, oh my gosh, this is great. I like this. I like hurting people. It's good. And then start feeling how, what would be the character's progression if his mind just started like going crazy.
Okay.
And that's what ended up with that. And we decided on Left Hand of God because right hand, everybody uses right hand of God. But left hand was the opposite side. It was supposed to left-handers represent evil, so to speak, and I was also left-handed, so it really worked out.
There you go then.
Yeah. So I ended up taping up my left hand. I would put a left handprint on my face. It's just all these moments where you just get into this character, and a lot of the times the costume helps make it, right? So I went from having kind of bright silver and red and black and red tights that were kind of flashy and cool to kind of plain baggy pants just with Andrews written on the side. It was just very dark, very simplistic.
Okay.
But then seeing that red hand paint and the red tape on my hand, like it was one of those things that just get you in the character. You're like, okay, I am this absolutely psychotic, crazy guy, and now I'm ready to come out in the ring and I'm ready to go ahead and hurt somebody. So that's how it is.
I love how because like I said, I came in sporadically, and I love how these like filling in these holes for me. I was like, oh, okay, that explains this, that explains this, because I caught those two settings in your career. I guess from there, from that dark character, you ended up at that and secret.
The secret Asian man thing. Yeah.
Okay.
We decided we were going to break up the following. That was the name of the stable, and there was a way we decided we were going to kick Carrion Arcane out of the group, and then the whole storyline just became Carrion coming back and getting his revenge on all of us. So for me, I'm pretty sure, he ended up trapping my arm in a chair and then breaking it, and that's what broke the curse of Carrion, because my left hand was broken and stuff, and that got me down another crazy pathway of pretending I was a secret agent.
That's hilarious. That's a great way to do it, to be quite honest. Like, it's a good way to shift into that. That's awesome. Coming up with the storylines at MPX was kind of some of the most fun parts, because we always try to. It was harder back then because we would only run one show every other week, sometimes just one show a month, and it was kind of hard to develop that continuity. To get people to follow along from one show to the next. It's easier now for them because they go week to week. And that's easier, but coming up with storylines and stuff, I mean, you could have video recaps up on the board beforehand, but it's hard.
Being able to come up with a long-term story, if you're only coming up with like one show a month, that can be kind of hard.
I can see that being an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So did you change your wrestling style as you move characters?
Kind of. I wanted to be a little bit more high-flying as the secret agent man. So it still never worked out to where I was a cruiserweight, so to speak, like super high flying,
really?
twisty, doing all that stuff. But I guess I would try to be a little more. You draw inspiration from like Austin Powers, James Bond, all those that like use kind of hand-to-hand martial arts kind of stuff. But also you got to throw in being goofy at it because he wasn't really good at being the secret Asian man. So a couple of hits here and there. And then I distinctly remember there was a match where I was supposed to go to the top rope and I really, really wanted to do a dive to the outside. I was like, okay, I got to get over this. Got to get over myself. And I climbed to the top rope. And I lost my balance. This is a live show. Yeah. Live radio, folks. No net. Yeah. So I lost my balance. I fell back into the ring once. Okay, I can pass that off as being the goofy guy. Okay, I'm goofy. Oops, slipped. My bad. Got up again. Lost my footing again. I was like, crap. Okay, well, this is going to work. So I faked an injury.
Oh my god!
To make it believable to the crowd, I fell into the ring and I just started grabbing my knee. I was like, "Oh no, I did something bad!" And I rolled out of the ring because that was supposed to be. Lucky for me, that point where I dove out of the ring, that was supposed to be the last thing I did in that match.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just fell down, fell in the ring, and I grabbed my knee. I rolled out of the ring. I was like, "Okay, well, not exactly the intended result, but I'm out."
Yeah, you're on your mark. Oh my god. The panic.
Yeah, so, but it was super scary because I was like, you see all these people down there and they're ready to receive you, so to speak. Like you're about ready to jump on them, and you're like, I can't jump because I keep falling. Well, you can't go. You can go up one more time, especially if you're passing it off as being goofy. You can't go up a third time because everybody starts calling that bullshit.
Yeah, I remember seeing Patrick Stewart talk about like a double take, a triple take, and it's funny because as he can be serious, but then at a certain point you can't go back anymore, and you have to be goofy, and so going back the third time would have been a really bad idea.
And I knew that too. Yeah. Like that was one of those things where like audience reaction and stuff. Okay, they laughed at me the first time, and then that second time it was like, okay, if you try to do this the third time, you're going to get booed. Yeah. And you know it. So you're just like, all right, I just, cut your losses and get out of the damn ring.
Yeah, it's a live show. You got to keep moving on to the next step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because nobody's going to wait for you to do that then. So.
When I used to work in trade shows, we were fairly live because, there's a mistake happens or something breaks during the show. We have to fix it.
Sure.
And people will start like this. And I was like, look, I don't care who or what or where. Like, what is the next step? Because we can talk about or fix it or rearrange it later. But right now, let's just move on to the next thing because there's no time to waste. Because things are going on. Because there's other people depending on like the match to move forward.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can apply that whole theory to really just work in general, right? I mean, something goes wrong, you got to move on and just finish the job at hand and then worry about what went wrong later.
That's true. Well, what's your first night in the ring? What was that like?
My friend, let's see. So there's a couple of firsts, so to speak, right? The first time we were ever in front of a live audience, and it was just family and friends. Okay. It was in Steven's backyard. Oh. So we were actually doing the backyard thing, but we decided we would see what would happen if we could put on a show. We had a freaking boombox. We were trying to play everybody's music. That's brilliant. And we just invited family and friends over. There's definitely YouTube recordings of that somewhere. That's fine. But I know, like, because I originally was supposed to be the ring announcer, but things changed and I ended up being a talent. Oh. I decided I was going to be the heel ring announcer. So I presented that idea and we decided to run with it. So I would announce the good guys with this, like a sneer and like, oh, I had this joke that's coming to the ring. And then I would really hype up the bad guys. I was the first match for that. Okay. And I took on Seth Anunnaki, and I announced him, and then I announced his opponent, and his opponent came out limping. It was on crutches and stuff. And then when I said, well, your new opponent is, and then I attacked Seth with the microphone. So that's how I got myself into being in an actual match, announcing myself as his opponent.
I was gonna say that's fun.
That was fun. That's one of my favorite deals. Like I wish more people. I wish there were other ring announcers that would like make their debut or whatever doing that, like attacking somebody.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun. The next time we actually did a show, it was actually Metroflex Gym in Fort Worth. Neither of the Metroflex gyms are there anymore, but we were way out in Fort Worth, and that was a nice gym. That was air conditioned. That was inside. It was beautiful. And we did have an audience there. We had a Royal Rumble.
Oh wow!
Battle Royale.
Okay.
We had a Battle Royale for the first MPX Championship. My family was in attendance there. That like one of maybe 2, maybe 3 shows that they ever came out and saw, because that's just not their thing. But yeah, I was in a triple threat match that night, and yeah, just seeing your crowd out there completely changes the perspective, because you can go in, you can do your training just like in theater. You can do your practicing, you can do your lines, run through it. Everything changes when there's an audience there, because the reactions are there, and the reactions make a lot of what you do.
I can see that being a big part of it.
Yeah, and stage fright's definitely a thing. It's still a thing. Like you can practice, you can rehearse, you can get your brain to say, okay, we're moving from spot A to spot B to spot C.
Yeah.
But once you get out there and you see all these people, you've got to be able to manage the deer in the headlights look, because sometimes you can get that. Like I definitely had that a few times where it was like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something here. I don't remember damn that. And you've got to be able to react and improv on the fly. Like, okay, if we're not going to be doing something here, then we've got to change it and do something else. We've got to get to the next spot somehow.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I was supposed to do, but I know there's a spot I got to get to, and I got to be able to get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your like favorite move to do to get heat?
There's a few.
Okay.
And they all involve breaking the rules and stuff. There was one where like I would use my hand to choke them, and then you get the 5 count, right? So the ref would count 1, 2, 3, 4. I would break that, and then I get up on my knees, and using my shin, I would continue to choke them while I was telling the ref, like, I'm not choking them anymore, not doing it. Meanwhile, the guy behind me was getting choked.
Yeah. It's old school shit. I love it.
Yeah, that's old school. I love that kind of like cowardly heel, bad kind of stuff. Yeah, just interacting with the ref.
Okay.
And making sure that the crowd knew that the ref was the one that was supposed to be in charge, but I was really not going to be. I was going to be this bratty little kid.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder how that persona would change now that I actually do have a kid, and I can see how the bratty kid would be. Like,
oh, yeah.
Because I always imagined, like at the time that I was wrestling, I didn't have a kid.
Yeah.
So just imagining what this bratty little kid, all I knew was what I saw on TV, but just imagining this kid going like, no, I'm not going to follow what you say. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing. I want to know how that would change.
They're just tiny little psychopaths for a couple of years. Like they just don't know what is besides themselves. You know what I mean? Because they're learning.
Yeah. They're either tiny little psychopaths, or you can liken them to tiny drunk adults. That's really
that's true.
Telling them something and then they still don't want to do
That's
it.
Funny.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So what did you grow up with wrestling? Like watching?
I was a WWF, WWE kid all the way through. My first, I was actually reminded of this a couple of days on Instagram's, like, there was on this day in WWE history. Okay. It was 24 years ago, apparently. There was a Shawn Michaels versus Diesel match. It was WWF In Your House, Good Friends, Better Enemies. Shawn Michaels versus Diesel as the main event for the WWF Championship. That was the first pay-per-view I ever got to watch. My parents had a black box, and so they got it for free.
There you go. I remember those things.
Yeah, every kid did it. That was the first pay-per-view I saw, but the first match I saw was the previous day. It was WWF Superstars on Saturday morning, and it was Shawn Michaels versus the 1-2-3 Kid. And the minute I saw Shawn Michaels, I was like, what is this? So freaking fantastic. The appearance, the charisma, the dancing, the smugness, and the athleticism too. Like, he's just too cool for words.
As a single
guy,
right?
Yeah, as a singles guy. He was managed by managed by Jose Lothario, his old mentor. Yeah, that was crazy. I will never forget watching that match and going like, that's awesome, and I'm gonna watch a lot more of this. And I was convinced for the longest time, kind of like Santa Claus, I was convinced that it was like they were beating the tar out of each other, and there was hatred, there was vitriol. I was so convinced that no, they were really, really angry at each other. I remember having an argument with my dad about
it. Oh, really? Oh my god!
It was some Owen Hart match, and my dad was like, "You got to turn this garbage off. I can't stand watching it." Like, no, they're really hitting each other. It's really real. They're hurting each other really bad. Oops.
It's a great time.
But hey, I do want to tell everybody that okay, right? They might be tapping a little bit lighter, but they are hurting.
Yeah.
They are hitting hard. They're not going up there and just like tapping you really lightly and stuff. Like they're going up there with the intent to make it look real, which isn't that what actors do anyway? They go up there with a character trying to make things look real.
I remember reading a book. I forget whose it was, but it said they worked with somebody. And it's like, there's a secret to this guy's punch because it looks amazing. And then he got in the ring with it, like, oh, he just hits me. Okay. That's how he looks.
Is that Mick Foley's book?
I think so. I've read a couple.
I feel like it was Mick Foley's first book, and he was talking about getting in the ring with Triple H or something like that. He was like, okay, I can throw a punch, and he gets in there. He's like throwing a punch or whatever. And then Triple H brings him around and goes, okay, here's how you're going to throw a punch. And he punched him. He was like, what just hit me? Because he wasn't expecting it to actually make contact.
Yeah. That's fun. Some crazy stuff out there. Yeah, I grew up with because I'm from Dallas, so I grew up with WCCW as a wee lad. So
I'm really jealous that I never got to experience any of WCCW. Didn't get to do any of the stuff with PCW.
Oh yeah.
And that was hard, man. So that was really hard because the people that started running MPX they all knew PCW people. And so they would bring these people in from time to time when we were first starting that were really big back in the PCW days. Gigolo James Johnson, Main Event Mike Fox, and they were like, oh man, Gigolo, that was really good today. I'm like, I have no idea who you are. I'm sorry. I said, I don't know who you are. I just know the big guys on the TV. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, I was here because I remember watching when Cactus Jack came into the WWF at the time. And then he's like, Cactus Jack is back. I was like, yes! And then I stopped like, wait, how do I know this guy? I had like dig deep back. It's like, oh, okay, that's right. Because I vaguely remember seeing him on TV. Like, I was like Akbar and Gentleman Chris Adams and things like that. It's like, oh, okay. That's when I was like a wee lad. I never got a chance to go to the Sportatorium. I missed out on that. That would have been kind of cool.
I never did. I drove by it once, way after it had closed. Like when I was up in Arlington for a Rangers game, I remember driving by the Sportatorium and being like, "Oh, that's where the magic happened, huh? Okay, interesting."
Okay, so that's where.
But just places.
I was gonna say that's where you guys started with, and so you came in like that big boom period to WBE.
Yeah, just at the start, where it was about to start getting really good.
Have you been keeping up anything lately?
Yeah, try my best. You know what's really weird? I can't watch the stuff without the audience there.
Yeah, it's different.
It's extraordinarily different. And I know, like we talked about this earlier, the audience makes a lot of the reactions, a lot of the moments and stuff.
Yeah.
And while it's kind of cool, you know how people always ask for like baseball players to get mic'd up so they can hear what they're saying and what they're doing in the ring and stuff. That's kind of how I feel with it. With no audience there. Like, all you hear is the performers talking and stuff. And it's kind of cool because for the longest time, I saw whenever people would make their entrances, and they get up on the turnbuckle, and they would start talking like, yeah, I'm the best. Like, for whatever reason, I always thought they weren't actually saying things.
Oh, right on.
I just thought they were mouthing things. And so it's weird, like, when they're getting up and doing their entrance, like, they're actually saying things or yelling things. You're like, oh, man, they're actually saying things.
That's funny.
It's weird. But yeah, it's really hard for me to watch an entire show that doesn't have crowd reactions and stuff.
I can totally see it. I like what they're doing with things like the Boneyard match and the Fiend match. Okay, that was lean into it. If you don't have the audience, you can do whatever you want. Just lean into it, and that's gonna be.
And I'm really glad that they jumped on that. I know there was this whole thing with Matt Hardy a few months back where they wanted to do the broken thing, which would have done a whole lot of those cinematic style matches. And for whatever reason, they didn't decide to jump on that train. But I guess when you've got The Undertaker there, you can go ahead and do it.
When you have The Undertaker and you have a worldwide pandemic, like it took
exactly.
It took a lot to make him do that, but now here we are.
But it was great. It was great. It was unique for them. I know it wasn't unique to the world of wrestling, but I mean, it was unique for WWF to do, WWE to do.
Yeah.
And the story was told perfectly. It was so good. And I'm really looking forward, honestly, to seeing what they do with the Money in the Bank stuff this Sunday.
Yeah, I heard what they're setting up is like the whole building. I was like, all right. So
now I'm thinking Die Hard stuff.
Yeah.
It's
the Die Hard video game. You ever played the arcade game? You run around, it's a beat 'em up.
Yeah.
That's what it.
It
is.
Yeah, just going floor by floor, seeing who you're gonna run into and stuff like that has all kinds of potential. I'm super excited about that.
I grew up with Jackie Chan movies, so this is the same thing. Like they're live action stunt people. They're doing and they're taking these beautiful long shots. You know what I mean? Or they're editing it, but
they are.
When the shot counts needs it, do the full thing, but then you can edit it afterwards. It's like perfect. And no one's really people are safer,
Yeah, it's safer, and then they don't have to shoot this live. They can do this completely pre-recorded, which I think is what they're doing with the Money in the Bank thing, because you'd have to, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of shots.
It's a ton of shots. So you do this pre-recorded, and what's really fun with the advent of social media and stuff is you can watch the whole reaction, right? The audience reaction part, being part of it. You watch people reacting to this in live time while they're watching it. If this was just a regular movie, you wouldn't necessarily be able to see that, but since this is a live event...
Yeah, that's how I used to watch UFC events when I'm on the road. I couldn't get to a bar or a TV. I had my particular Twitter feed is all the reporters, so I get play-by-plays via Twitter.
Sure.
And so it's an interesting way to experience a show.
And that's how we've been keeping up with a lot of the stuff since they've stopped the crowds. Like I'm able to follow along with all the angles and stuff, and I'll watch some of the highlights, but like the whole show, I don't know if I could get behind. But I'm able to keep up with it because of social media, because of Twitter.
That's good. Yeah, it's been an interesting one keeping up with it. Like everyone's trying different things. AEW is difficult for me. WWE I can get to, but like AEW, I was waiting for just can you be on YouTube so I can watch it? Like I don't have cable.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? So I don't have cable. It's like God damn it. Just get on YouTube. That's where people are. That's what's TV nowadays, But I can see why they want to go back to it. Like, come on. But it's I like how they feel different as a company. Like I don't know.
Yeah, same here.
Like contractually, how they treat their employees and their contractors. Like they make a pretty big distinction between the two. Do you watch their backstage stuff with like the scrums?
I've watched a couple of them. It's interesting. We were talking about how cool the cinematic matches are with WWE, but like some of the skits and stuff, like actual promos and stuff, those can get too corny, too cheesy, too weird for me sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just my personal taste. Like I don't mind watching the action stuff so much, but I don't know, watching some of the vignettes and things like that. It's different. Yeah. It's just a different style.
I've noticed that
same with like Lucha Underground.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that on Netflix and stuff. Sometimes I can follow that, but like that's a really good mix of
I was gonna say
going with the cinematic like movie style interaction. Like I remember that first season where they're talking to the head promoter like he's the mob boss or something like that. Like, okay, you got a match with him tonight. And then they go into the live audience thing, and then like that's kind of a cool little cut.
It's a Mexican soap opera, and what I love about it, it's shot like one. I would like the WWE to try it out, but I like Lucha Underground. The cameras they use just gives it a cinematic feel. You know what I mean? I was like, that's cool. I wish people like dug into it more. I think we get more of it. It's also if this keeps going, this is where they're gonna do more and more of this.
This is where it's going, right? Yeah.
So like the UFC is having an event this weekend. I was like, this is gonna be.
I don't know how.
So apparently, the fighters are gonna be around their corners, and that's it. And then to the ring, then the ref, and then post match, you leave, you go to a separate room with sanitized headsets, and do your post fight interview. It sounds like they're keeping everybody as separate as they can, and the camps have to like stay together, and that's all they're having. So you have your rough fighter and your, I guess, 2 or 3 guys in the corner, and that is it. No more other people. So, and you know how these.
I don't know, that sounds weird too, right? With the whole lack of an audience now, it's less of a factor in UFC because you're not relying on the audience to dictate what you're doing in the ring.
Yeah.
But at the same time, kind of like they talk about sports being played without fans. The whole idea of a hometown reaction, or the whole idea of like getting the crowd behind you, that's not just a wrestling thing. Like that's a personal thing. You've got a whole bunch of people cheering you on, like that pushes you. That's an adrenaline rush. If you don't have that, you're just like, what the fuck am I doing in this ring? God.
I think at a certain point we'll get to just the animals, because I think the one of the reasons why I feel the UFC main event they have this weekend, the main event fighters are just animals. They're just fighters, so they'll like pay me, I'll do it. I don't care where it is. These are the type of guys who will fight in the streets. Like that's who they are, and that's where the dedication comes in at the end of the day. And everybody's pivoting. You know what I mean? Like that's why I have this platform, because my convention scene went away. So here I am on the.
But it's been a fun series. It's been really good, and I really appreciate anybody that tries to bring to light kind of the happenings in pro wrestling and stuff, especially at kind of this level.
There's a lot to learn. Like once you get deep into the nuance of it, there's a lot to learn. Because I was gonna talk about at my old workplace, Austin 316, like that phrase.
Oh, it's iconic.
Yeah, it's iconic, and it became a international thing. Like it's such a big part of pop culture, and it was.
Oh hell! Look at The Rock. Look at The Rock with like the Under Armour, the Brahma Bull stuff, his movie, his Hollywood presence, and like it's crazy to me how people now they see him as Dwayne Johnson, and then it actually shocks them to learn that he was a wrestler.
That's where he learned all this marketing stuff.
Yeah, as opposed to us who know him as a wrestler, it's like, wow, look at The Rock doing cool stuff. Everybody's like, wow, Dwayne Johnson was a wrestler. Like that's mind-boggling to me that people are like don't see that. It's almost Hulk Hogan-esque, but nobody was surprised because Hulk Hogan was the wrestler, and he could be the actor, and that's fine. There was no separating the two.
That's true. Like that, he's at that point he's kind of a big caricature because he came from an era that being a character was a big part of it. Like there was a crazy cartoon series,
a huge part.
The rock and roll era.
Yeah. Rock and wrestling, man, in the 80s. Cyndi Lauper, all that, man. Good stuff.
It's on the big stage. I think that's why, like, stand-up comedy, pro wrestlers, stage performers, everybody, musicians, they all, like, click together. It's always running the same circles, I always found. Because that's part of the life, right?
It's relatable. Yeah. They run and do the same things. They perform in front of live audiences. And they have kind of the same issues,
You work in front of a tiny audience, and hopefully someone sees you get into a bigger audience, and so hopefully someone sees you. And then at some point, you hope you sell out. Like, you sell out an arena. Like, that's the goal.
Yeah. And you deal with the same kind of the same problem sometimes. You see some of these blooper outtakes from comedians that have to deal with some heckler in the crowd making a specific point about something, and they call them out in the middle of the show. Like, you got to react to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I can see that, the audience being weird for production now. We'll see.
What's really weird to think about is that something like, take Rusev, right? Rusev Day. How that whole thing like jumped up because the crowd started chanting Rusev Day. Think about Becky Lynch as the man who got amazingly over because the crowd got behind her with all of that stuff.
Yep.
Nowadays, there's I mean, there's no crowd.
Yeah.
So how are you able to measure? I mean, except for what you see on social media and Twitter, who's trending, who's got that going. But like, you know, you've got a hit when you have the 10,000 people in the arena like cheering.
Yeah.
It, right.
Chanting
but
the
if there's
stuff when they're not even there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But now that there's no audience, like now it's really just at the mercy of whoever's writing the script, and then you just got to see on social media who's trending and who's going to get whatever push it is that they want to get. I think that's really weird because not weird, but you know, it's going to change how some stars are made now.
I can totally see that. I found it interesting with the crowd, what seems to be the crowd in WWE and what seems to be the crowd in AEW. I felt like the AEW crowd was way more forgiving and let things kind of slide. Because I always wish the WWE had more long-term stories, but I always felt they reacted to the audience way too quickly. Because the audience was like very frugal. And so you can't have a heel turn that became... Because I always felt Cena, his heel turn would have been a great setup to a heroic face turn again. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That moment out of like Kingdom Come when Superman comes back, like that's something that could have been great, but I don't think the crowd would let it happen. That's like a 6 months, year-long like program. You can't just do that in a month or two. You know?
I was watching that first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe.
Okay.
And Green Goblin's speech to Spider-Man in that, where he goes, the one thing that people love is to see a hero fail, fall, or die trying. And I think that sets up the whole thing with Cena perfectly well, because he was the hero for so long. Obviously, they never went with it, but he was the hero for so long. People just wanted to see him just give in. He was too much of a goody two-shoes. Everybody just wanted to see him give in to that bad side just a little bit, and he never did. Which I don't know. There's theories on that if you want to say that he should have given in to make it more interesting. But in retrospect now, the fact that he didn't, I mean, that just makes him one of a kind.
That is true.
Now.
I can totally see that. Like, because Hogan went heel and came, like, I think he cemented himself in a different way by going heel and becoming, like, Samoa. I always go back to that scene out of, have you ever read Kingdom Come, the comic book? Okay, there's Superman's gone, and then there's the people that fears no hope, and when he comes back, it's like, oh shit, he's back. Like, and it's I think a bigger resurgence, because so I imagine as the hero falls, his rise up again, he overcomes the dark side and becomes good again. I think would have been cool. But like you said, it's true. He's cemented as a babyface. He's still doing Make-A-Wish stuff now. Like he was
absolutely.
To the hospital.
He's gonna transcend things.
Yeah.
I mean, he is on his way to becoming the next version of The Rock, where people are going to be like, "Oh, John Cena was a wrestler." Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I don't know with him though. I think he just seems to like being. Have you followed his Instagram at all? He's a kooky dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's super unique. Super unique, super weird kind of guy.
I think he just likes being this guy. He's just a company man. Does his job. He does his job really well. Like super well.
And there's something to be said for being the one that's like super loyal to the company, you know. I always said if I ever went back to wrestling full time, like I would always only do MPX.
Okay.
Because I mean they're the ones that gave me my break, and I always wanted to be the guy that was the standout in MPX, and plus the whole traveling thing. But like the idea of being loyal to one promotion was always stand out to me. I mean, it's kind of like why people in Dallas rally around Dirk Nowitzki, right?
Yeah.
He stayed with the same team for 21 years. There's something to longevity. Yeah. There's something to loyalty.
Yeah. Especially like as a foreigner, like he came in. He's in Dallas right now. Like people don't. No, he's from Dallas. He's a Dallas guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people are like, oh, that's right. When they say from the G, they're not talking to like Garland or Grand Prairie. They're talking like Germany.
Yeah.
But he's a Dallas guy. That's you got Nowitzki Way now. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Have a street named after you. That's the goal.
Yeah, jeez. That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah, dude.
Cool. So I'm gonna let you go. It's been a good. Love talking to you.
Bro, Lon, great catching up, man.
It's been we've known each other for a very long time. It's been great. I love this journey you've been through, this pro wrestling thing. So, looking back at it, like, what's the lesson you take out of your wrestling career?
For me, I'm extraordinarily glad that I did it, because for the longest time I always told myself that I wanted to, because I've been a wrestling fan since 9 years old, and I always wanted to see what it would be like to be in there. Never had the chance to go in because I just didn't run in those circles that would know that kind of person. I didn't know where to look.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Stumbling on MPX on Craigslist was such a blessing, such a great time in my life. It still is. I'm still connected to MPX. I just had a recent run with them as a referee spot.
That's cool.
For Frankie Fisher. I did like 3 or 4 shows where I was this jerk referee, and it's still a blast. It still has an impact on me. I still have lots of good memories. I wouldn't have changed that for the world, except to have just kept going. I'm really glad that I took the opportunity and the chance to actually get in the ring. So I guess takeaways, if you've got an opportunity to do something that you never thought or never think that you're going to have a chance to do again, take it.
Yeah.
Do it.
It's just an off chance you say yes more. That's what I've been trying to do more and more. Just walk through it and learn. One of my buddies said he likes to fail quickly, and because he just keeps learning and learning and learning and learning, and so it's all about just doing it and moving forward and learning your lessons. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we'll say it in training all the time. 3, 2, 1, fuck it. So I mean, that's it. Just like you say, do I need to try a new move? All right, 3, 2, 1, fuck it. Just do it. Just go. Just do it.
Real quick, what is the move you pulled off that you had worried that you're gonna do it and then you nailed it, or you got close to it?
It's really more taking the moves.
Okay.
I'm always afraid I'm going to land on a really bad spot in my neck. It's always one of those fears, and probably one of the things that prevented me from continuing on with my wrestling career was that, like, I never wanted to be put on the sidelines.
Okay.
I have a real life job. I have a kid. I have a wife. I have an entire life outside of wrestling to look forward to. For everybody else where that's their thing, I'm super glad for them, and I think that's fantastic. For me, it just wasn't my path. So I never wanted to be like completely injured while doing something. So I was always just so scared of either landing on my head while taking a move. So in that match with Scott Murdoch, he was going to pick me up to German suplex me, and I was like, okay, should I jump? And he picked me up once. He goes, don't jump. And I was like, okay, that's weird. I wonder why not. Remember, 140 pounds. This guy probably lifts 2 of me for breakfast.
Yeah.
And so he threw me across the ring. I was like, if I had jumped, I would have landed smack down on the top of my head.
Yeah, wow.
Because I'm providing that extra. I was like, all right, really glad I didn't decide to do that. So it's always whenever I take the move and I'm like, okay, I survived that. Okay, that's cool. And then I'm willing to do it again.
Okay. That's fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll end it on that awesome note. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much